Welcome to the Healing Soul Podcast, empowering wellness and oneness. I'm your host, Marybeth Romback Nelson, and I have an amazing guest today, Marcia McMahon. Welcome to the Healing Soul, Marcia.
Oh, it's really a pleasure to be with you. You and I seem to have the same resonance with the angels, and so it's really nice to meet you and be invited on your program.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you. You've done amazing work and are helping humanity in so many ways. Can you tell
Thank
our
you.
listener, you're welcome. Can you tell our listeners about your background and how you got started and what you do?
Yeah, well, my actual background was actually in academia, and I'm an artist, and I was an art history professor and also a K-12 art teacher when I began my work with Diana, and she tapped me on the shoulder, so to speak, came through in messages back in 2001, and she asked me to be her ambassador for peace for my part of the world, and this was in 2001 before the terrorist attacks. So I said yes because she was such a beautiful person in life, and I always felt deeply connected to her. A lot of women our age do. But she
Right.
represents the divine feminine, and I got into doing very high level um, channeling that was very accurate, and it was all about preventing the Iraq War, tips for terror, and also reaching very high people in high places with her messages of peace and diplomatic solutions. And then from there, I connected to Mother Mary and I connected to Mary Magdalene. So I have a whole story regarding that. And I also channel Archangel Michael. So I've been doing this work for 25 years, and it's been corroborated by other mediums, famous mediums around the world, and so on. So I have quite a few books out.
That's an amazing story. And how did you start channeling angels? Was it when you were younger or did it come about suddenly?
Well, I always had a psychic connection, and during my youth, I had precognitive ability where I would know somebody was going to call, or I would sense somebody in my physical presence, and they would just show up. Um, so I used to have dreams, but I began to write spiritual books in the late 90s, and I got an award for that, but it never came to be. I never published this book, and it was just on opening to the spiritual path. And so then I guess I found my calling really in channeling when Princess Diana came to me directly, and I could see in her mind's eye, my mind's eye, her dressed in a kind of a blue gown. And she said, would you like to be my ambassador for peace for your part of the world? And I was like, oh, I was completely taken aback with that statement. But I figured it was something important. So I always did morning notes and journaling, and I could channel before I went to school. I would take down notes. So this came to me in about my mid 40s, the ability to
Okay.
actually accurately channel. And I was very close to Jesus, and I used to be religious, but then I kind of got away from religion particularly. But I could actually receive quite a few messages from him before I began with Diana. So then Diana's, you know, insistence on me doing a weekly channeling was very hard to do at first because I was working full time and sometimes part time. So I had a K-12 teaching art job, and I'm an artist by trade. So I'm already an intuitive. So that part of the brain, you know, the right side, left side type thing, both sides work for me, but I'm a little more inclined toward the intuitive. So then I realized that my messages were valid when I went to visit a spiritualist church in Leroy, Illinois. And I had gone to a healer, and she brought through Princess Diana. And she said, Diana's placing a crown on your head. And she didn't know that I was channeling Diana. So this was
You knew
that.
she was the real deal.
Oh, and then I went to the spiritualist church. This was a phenomenal experience. I mean, it blew me away. So I was trying to find Leroy. I'm in Taylorville, Illinois. Leroy is about, an hour and a half to hour and 40 minutes north near Bloomington, in between Bloomington, Normal, and another town up there. And I finally found it, but we're 20 or so minutes late, but we came in at the right time. Spirit's always right on time. I arrived, sat down in the seat, and the medium that day was giving a message. And they always give a message. You know, the Spiritualist Church is like any other Protestant church, but at the end they do a medium message. And so the medium, the visiting medium, was Patrick James. I'll never forget him. And he came directly to me and he said, "You there, you're really connected to spirit." And I said, "Well, thank you." And he said, "What is your name?" And I said, "Marcia McMahon." And he goes, "Okay, so I see Diana to your right and Mother Teresa to the left."
Wow.
And he says,
Wow.
"They want to say thank you for the work that you've been doing, so much good." And it turns out Patrick James was verified completely. He was Diana's psychic in life.
Oh my
She
goodness.
consulted with him. And
Wow.
he
That's
said,
incredible.
he said, "I know it's Diana because I was her psychic in life, like another,
What are
like
the odds
picked
of that, right?
it's one in a
The
billion. I mean,
synchronicity.
yeah, it's
Yes.
one in a million, actually. And I had no idea that what they did at this spiritualist church. I just had this healer friend recommend it to me, and it was astounding. And then my husband looked over, and he wasn't too sure of anything. But then he gave me a message from Mother Teresa, too, and he said that it's time to start painting Mother Teresa. I had been painting Diana and channeling. This was after a year and a half with my work. Come to find out that Patrick worked for the secret government. They always hire psychics, you know.
Okay.
So he was doing psychic work in pre-war Iraq. He was some part of something, and that's not his real name, but his real first name was Patrick. So
Okay.
he had to go by Patrick James because he had another last name, and that would have revealed or compromised his identity working over there. So then I called him later and I wanted to invite him over for dinner or whatever. And I asked him if he thought it was okay to share my messages with the government. And he goes, "Well, what we do is a little bit more sophisticated in that we find targets." Well, I said, "I have some terrorist tips, and what can I do?" So I shared some of Diana's dire warnings with a way. I found my own way, not through him, of contacting higher ups in the government, secretaries of state, etc. And then I was passing along tips to share for possible terrorist attacks. And it sounds like that doesn't have anything to do with Divine Feminine, but Divine Feminine is against all wars and against all terror. Needless to say, this Diana was a big peacemaker in her life, and in her
Right.
afterlife, she has been so busy keeping me so busy with world peace issues. So,
Well, in life, I just loved her. I know I was in junior high when she got married and engaged, and I remember just being enthralled watching that on TV.
wasn't that magical?
It
Yeah,
was so magical.
I was on retreat when she got married, and I was early on in my teaching. But this is one of my paintings of Diana. This is a watercolor with her Egyptian gown and rose. And this is my book with love from Diana. And this is my other book, which is Notes from John, Messages from Across the
Very
Universe.
nice.
So I channel John Lennon and George Harrison too. So I've done a lot of collaborative projects with the Murrays, Bob and James Murray. So you
Okay.
must have them on the show too because they're fabulous talents,
Okay, definitely.
and they're from Canada. So they also confirmed my work with Diana. So, I was struggling along with teaching all these different universities and K-12, and everything was part-time and doing all these, artwork and messaging. And, she's kept me busy all these years, but she was the essence of the divine feminine in terms of a modern day ascended master. And people don't realize that she was ascended master, but I don't know if you get that feeling right now, but I'm getting
Yeah,
that.
she was a definitely a divine soul.
Yeah, she was actually Mother Mary's mother, Anne, in that other lifetime. When I went to
Beautiful.
write Mary Magdalene Speaks, which is my latest book,
Do you have a
Mary
copy
Mag.
that you can hold up for our viewers?
Yes, let's do that for the
Yeah,
viewers. And so this is the title.
beautiful.
Mary Magdalene Speaks, The Holy Grail, Bloodline, and Secrets of the Divine Feminine. And in this book, I read the Akashic records, and Diana had revealed to me earlier that she was Anne or Anna, mother of Mother Mary, and that she too had a lot of the Catholic teaching is actually correct about, she had a magical birth or, mystical birth,
Right.
and that Mother Mary had the same thing, but she recounts the story of the angel Gabriel coming to Mary, and that it was quite confusing for all the family and what to do about it and everything. But then Mary Magdalene is the source and the topic, and I got into researching Mary Magdalene and
So the
her divine
follower of
feminine.
Jesus.
Yeah, follower
Yes.
and wife, and that was
Yes.
all true, and that was brought
Okay.
up beautifully in the Da Vinci Code. But I tell you, I mean, I went home and looked at my art history book when I saw that movie, and I opened it up and I looked at the Da Vinci of the Last Supper, and I realized that is a woman with red hair and womanly features sitting next to him by Da Vinci.
Wow.
So Da Vinci actually was a member of the Priory of Sion. That was a true thing. And he was a
Okay.
guardian of a lot of the Grail artifacts. So in this fascinating book that I have written, I go into the Grail artifacts. I visited Israel and I recognized the site of the Beatitudes because I had a past life with Jesus. I didn't know this when I started my show, but I began to have psychics come on my show, Bob Murray being the prominent psychic that I featured quite a lot, and James, his son. And then I found out um, that I had walked with the Master and I had been Mary's sister.
Oh my goodness. That's
I was like,
incredible.
from not believing, that she was married to Jesus to finding out that I was her sister, about maybe 5 years later or 2 years later. It
How
was
incredible.
well, truth has a way of unveiling itself, So we learn in stages, and what we've been indoctrinated with is usually a version of some untruth that we have to, as soul journey, we have to uncover the real truth because we're truth seekers and healers. And our soul mission is to awaken everybody else and help them along the path. So, you know, um, I always felt so close to Jesus, and I guess that's why, because he was my cousin and brother in law. But I'm not saying this to brag because honestly, I didn't want to reveal any of this in the book. But the way Mary addressed me and tells her story to me, and the way Joshua addressed me, I really was given no choice. But I made a holy pilgrimage in 2012. I had uh, breast cancer, and I was very much struggling going through treatment. And then I had finished treatment, and then I thought I was healed, but my hand went lame and numb. And I had to quit teaching. I mean, I had to resign immediately because I couldn't function anymore as far as the due dates and the lectures. And I could do the
Right.
lecture, but so I have had find out through my angels I was going to the dentist, and it was like a divine intervention because even though I'm an energy reader, I knew something was wrong in the head, and I kept complaining of headaches and feeling of wetness up there. Turns out I had a huge brain tumor
Oh my gosh.
met from breast cancer. So when I was in the hospital, the dental assistant was the one that kind of diagnosed it, and she goes, "Don't leave the hospital without having a scan on your head because you were complaining about possible stroke." So I had these stroke-like symptoms when I went to get to dental cleaning. So basically, I found that, and I had found a brain surgeon the day before. And he said, "Well, I think it's something more and we need to look into it, but I wanted to try physical therapy before I did the scan." So nobody clued me in. The oncologist was completely negligent. So the neurologist gave me hormones to combat what I had was seizures due to menopause. So ladies out there listening, please don't take any hormones, even bioidentical, because they're very dangerous. So basically, I had to go through brain surgery, and Michael was my guide through all of the healing, plus Diana.
Wow.
And they told me exactly what to do. And they said, they didn't say that I would live, but they said that you will be all right. We're always all right whether we live or die. But
Because
I tell the stories.
we never really die.
No, we don't. And the
We
other thing
don't.
is, Diana had more in store, and so I think I was supposed to write this book with Mary Magdalene too. So I went on a pilgrimage to Israel, and then recognized that I had a couple past life regressions, and Bob Murray had identified me as one of the M sisters somewhere in the past with Jesus. So I went to this guy Merlin, who lived up to the name in every way. This guy.
I I have an affinity to Merlin. I love
Oh,
Merlin.
well, that's very good because I'm very connected to Merlin and Saint Germain, and I channel them too. So I
Okay.
went to this guy who was a certified psychologist, but did, sideline past life regression. So he was very good, and he had me under in no time. And the first lifetime I went to was me walking along Jesus in this scene where I was walking with the master, and I remember him being very tall and very beautiful and emanating this healing vibration of love that was just phenomenal. And so I said, I think it's Jesus. And he goes, go on, go on. And I recounted, everything. I could not at that time remember my name, but I got it after the regression. It was Martha. So actually, I went back and, because I used to be a scripture person, I went back and opened my Bible, and there it was. Martha and Mary invited Jesus to their home for dinner, and I was like, okay, that's it. So, I have a lot of stories, but I
It
had
is
a healing journey.
incredible that you got to go and actually be there on the land,
Well,
and
yeah, I'm a land
walk this.
person.
Yeah,
I'm
I am
I'm
too.
I'm halfway in the land and halfway in the sky, and it helps me to remain grounded doing my numerous angel channels. And I know that's where it's at. You have to connect to nature in order to feel what they are giving you, or to ground afterwards. So I went to the home of Martha and Mary, and oh my God, I recognized it from 2,000 years ago.
How
And I sat
incredible.
there.
Did
I
you have
sat there with,
chills from head to toe? Not to interrupt, but you must have.
well, I did, but not, my brother was a devout Catholic, and he was going to the Mass every day and blah, blah. And I wasn't going to the Masses. I was just, I could barely walk because my head was bald, and I had a shaved part where they had done the brain surgery. I had to have a little bit of radiation, but I researched a new method where it wouldn't destroy your whole brain. Like they wanted to do whole brain, which many people die of those treatments. So I had to find something else. And I had just been released from that maybe 2 weeks prior. And then I was supposed to get on an airplane and do all this traveling. And I had a fall while I was there. And I couldn't, we stayed right on the way of the cross, the Villa de Rosa, in the monastery, Ecce Homo, which is the third or fourth station of the cross. Behold the man. That's what Latin means. And it was the Sisters of Mount Zion. It's like the
Oh my
Zion Sisters.
gosh.
It's like the Da
Wow.
Vinci Code all over again. So I was not able to walk. They had to carry me because I had an injury. I fell, and I had a dizzy spell due to the brain surgery being
Right.
so new. So basically, um, it was quite the pilgrimage. I mean, in the Middle Ages, when people went on a spiritual pilgrimage, they really went for redemption, and they were expected to suffer. I didn't expect to suffer, but I knew I might because it was a little too soon. And all the doctors told me not to go, but I'm so glad I went. Well, the most extraordinary thing to come out of that, besides recognizing the home of Martha and Mary and sitting at the tomb of Lazarus, which really wasn't where they had him. He was downstairs in the other part, but it was all the same tomb. Was I recognized Jesus' tomb in the Garden of the Resurrection. It's a
Wow.
Protestant tomb. It's not the Holy Sepulchre, but he was placed in a rock-hewn tomb, and it all belonged to Joseph of Arimathea. And it's owned by a non-denominational Protestant group from England. And so I walked into the tomb, and my brother was always testing me, and he said, well, where do you think which way did the body lay? And I said, well, I remember it. He was facing the gate of Damascus. And then the guide came in the next minute, and Jim asked him, which way did the body lay? He was facing the gate of the Damascus, and he looked up at me, and I was like, so, and I got all these orbs. The whole garden was magical, and it was right around the time of the Passover, so it would have been equivalent to the time of the so-called resurrection. So, I mean, just knowing that I had been there before. Now, I can't prove this precisely, but I can tell you that the wine press that belonged to Joseph of Arimathea was right outside that tomb. And it was the one that had the big stone.
Wow.
So I can send you that picture, or we can
Yeah,
post it up.
that would be beautiful. I just you have had a truly, I mean, you've had trials in your life, but you're truly blessed. All the experiences and the
I'm
realizations.
Well, I'm very determined and due diligent with my work, and other people would have stopped way before
Right.
me. Other channelers of Diana have since stopped, and it's because she's very demanding. She wants peace, and she wants people to be protected and loved everywhere. And she said that I simply won't stop until everyone lives in peace and harmony, and we bring in the new earth. And so that's what she's working for as an ascended master. And then Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary, very high avatars, were brought in for this special teaching of love that Jesus brought in, but also to revise the ancient history that was distorted by the church fathers thousands of years ago, and where the patriarchy could have the final say in all the truth, which is that's the big correction. It's divine feminine grounding now, so that we can have rights for women, basic voting rights and basic human rights. And Mary Magdalene has a special message with Diana and Mary sometime today when we have time. But I have a lot of causes and sub-causes within my work, but
Right.
primarily I still work with Diana on world peace, but Mother Mary has powerful messages, and she's
Well,
given me.
share you can share one of them right now, what
Okay,
you've
all right.
recently
Well,
received.
all
That would
right.
be
Well,
beautiful.
I'll read all of them because they're equally important. But Dinah gives a little background on our work together. So this is called Princess Diana, Mother Mary, and Mary Magdalene for World Peace, channel March 29th, 2026. Good afternoon, Princess Diana. Good afternoon, darling Marcia. Is there a message today for the audience or listeners? Yes, indeed. This is Princess Diana through my appointed channel, Marcia. And I am asking all listeners to please check out her website at Princess Diana and Mother Mary for World Peace.com, and to check out the number of years that she has been channeling my voice and that of Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene. We, as a threesome, make a goddess trilogy. It would have been a wonderful title for your new website, but it is, as I am perfectly satisfied with the theme World Peace and Divine Feminine. No mother wants to send off her son or daughter to war. And now we have this terrible war that he started in Iran. We see that this could go on and on into a very nasty and spreading cancer across the Middle East. And now we see who's involved now with Saudi Arabia having been hit, and the various countries forming different alliances, and the Arab nations. And what's happening in Iran and Lebanon is atrocious. They are committing many atrocities in which we see children crossing over every day. Mother Teresa and I run an orphanage on the other side, and we do see too many children having died in war and conflicts, but most especially the troubled Middle East. I have been channeling Marcia for 25 years now, making sure that she knows the representatives and presidents that I think will be open to my work and sending her messages on. She has been due diligent. I really appreciate the fine work for peace that she has done. When I transitioned to spirit, this was to be the direction of my work whilst on earth, with both landmines and regard to the Palestinian statehood, which is indeed the solution that unlocks the peace in the Middle East. That one thing could have
Wow.
prevented all of this war. And I did get the messages on, and it did become United States foreign policy. Now, I'm not saying that I invented that. I had no idea about foreign policy before I channeled Diana. So, some of the presidents, both Republican and Democrat, have heard my plea for peace and agreed with it, even if some of the presidents changed their mind. And then to go on, I wanted to give background and ask all to pray for peace for the world leaders that have the power to withdraw the war of powers and come to a peaceful solution with Iran, though I'm afraid it is much more complex than we'd ever imagined due to the Strait of Hormuz and the fact that they are not going to give up their regime easily. We regret to say that this has been a great mistake and is going to affect America for some time unless there can be an agreeable solution. Also, I see Israel intends to destroy most of Iran, just as she has done to Gaza. So even if the U.S. were to pull out, there will be still long-term ramifications. It is the Iranian people that I speak for and would like to ask prayers for them. They are undergoing what you experienced on separate occasions with the attacks of September 11th. They feel violated, and it is not fun to be the victim of bombs and war. And they have already elected another supreme leader who is the son of Ayatollah Khomeini. So the regime wants to persist in its oppression of women, and this we see that women will not agree. Eventually, we do see a free Iran, but I'm afraid it will be quite some time before that will come into being. And I've never seen a country turn to democracy or benefit from more bombs, and creating a democracy out of bombs doesn't work. There needs to be far more diplomacy from Secretary of State Rubio, who could get involved if Trump would let him. I see he wants only a business deal out of this and a promise not to create nuclear bombs, but they have more than enough willpower to do just that. We pray for American troops at this time, and then Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene have a brief blessing, and I will include the message. This is Mother Mary speaking with and calling in all the archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, and Raphael, and all the rest to surround the Middle East in peace, and call in the angelic realms for help. And you listeners, please do the same. If you are Catholic, you can say a rosary. If you are Protestant or another faith, you can hold the rose energy. Imagine a rose in your heart and send it out to the most troubled spots, be they Gaza or even Iran. We don't have to share the same faith, but we have to acknowledge that all women and men are created equal. I am the Divine Mother, and I send out my love and peace to all people, wishing for no more violence. This is Mother Mary. And then I have a brief message, one or two sentences from Magdalene that
It's
are quite
beautiful.
good. Let me finish this one. Just turning my page in. And I am Mary Magdalene, and I work for the liberation and removal of the burqa and the head veil for once and for all. I have been unveiled in Marcia's great book, Mary Magdalene Speaks, where I've come forth with my true identity, that of wife and spouse of the beloved Joshua ben Joseph, my husband. There is long lineage of my truth in that book, and I ask you to please look at it. I ask all women to stand up for their rights in the United States and around the world, for eventually we will have equal rights with men. But in the birthing of the new earth, which has become more difficult due to this war, we were holding a candle of light for the world. I and Joshua are still looking over this world with sadness and grief as we see more war and senseless conflict in the Middle East, and even in the United States. For the soldiers and citizens, I will say no more what I am seeing, but it is a grim vision I am giving to Marcia. I would ask all to pray earnestly for the protection of certain cities along the eastern seaboard, and I will say no more. And this is Princess Diana, Mother Mary, and Mary Magdalene, holding a candle of light for earth at this time, for peace on earth. We hold out a rose for everyone.
Wow. That is so beautiful.
Thank you.
So
I
we could, I remember growing up Catholic and my mom always had a May altar
oh yeah, that's the
with a
month of Mary.
statue of
Yeah,
Mary and she would
yeah,
pray the rosary.
yeah.
And you just think one or two people praying together, if every person, every soul listening would light a white candle and pray for world peace.
Yes, if they would right now, it could certainly make a difference because
It,
prayer does work.
prayer
And
does work.
Diana has confirmed, and through I got a nice message from John Lennon when I was working 12 hours a day just the other day on the website. And the website, if I may mention it, is Princess Diana and Mary for worldpeace.com. So it's a little
Thank
bit
you.
long. I probably will need to change it at some point, but that's the web for now.
Thank
And
you for sharing that.
I think the rose energy is how they heal through me now. Now, I do angelic Reiki, and I know you're a healer too. And you work with the angels as well, do you not?
I call the angels into the room like when I cleared before we started. I asked all the angels to step into the room around me and around you to give us the perfect words to say to our listeners and viewers to give them hope and healing.
That is so beautiful. And
Thank you.
yes, I would imagine now to our viewers and listeners, if they would hold the rose image in their mind and heart, whatever color you like, be it red, pink, white, whatever color, and send that rose energy of love to the world and the troubled spots in the world. And also, Diana says, to the world leaders to influence their thoughts for peace.
So important.
Yeah. So hopefully something good can come out of it, but it looks, being a realist as I am, it looks like they're making for more war. And
Well, all things are possible through
that's
prayer.
true. That's true. And yes,
So,
May Day is, it used to be the 1st of May, as I remember. And
right.
I inherited my mother's rosary, but I have a few rosaries. And I got one when I went on that sacred pilgrimage to Israel, and I picked it up at a little olive carving shop from Palestinian people who were Christian. And it was a very plain and simple shepherd's rosary, and it was right where the Church of the Shepherds was in Bethlehem, where his birth was, and they do all these carvings. So I prefer that if I do say it or just use it as a meditation tool. But I
Right.
found if I get into a real dilemma, sometimes I will pick it up. I really didn't even know it, but Kimberly Meredith kind of introduced me again to the rosary, and she does full rosary sessions on her psychic sessions.
So
So I,
interesting enough, not to interrupt you, but that is, well, Esther, I had interviewed Esther Klein, and then I
yeah,
happened to watch the episode with Kimberly Meredith that you,
yeah.
and then I contacted you because I thought it was a beautiful session that you had with
Yeah,
her.
and she's she doesn't actually channel Mother Mary. She just channels deceased relatives and does healing. And she has
Right.
amazing healing properties. But when I went on her program, she edited out everything and took away
Oh,
all the Mother Mary messages. I mean, I don't know
I think it's
why.
important for the world to hear.
I don't think if she claims to be channeling Mother Mary to edit out Mother Mary's words, you know.
Right.
So I was a little disappointed in that, but she did a good job on my show, and I was free to speak on my program about Mother Mary. So
Right.
she introduced me, relatively reintroduced me, should say, because I had not thought about rosary in like 40, 50 years, and I had not been part of a formal church except maybe the spiritualist and maybe a Presbyterian church here and there years ago. And they didn't like any of my channeling, so I just kind of left, you know. But that was then, and this is now. So now it's just very accepted that you're a channeler. But when I began in 2001 and then later got a radio program with BBS called The Peaceful Planet, um, I was one of the first in America to go out on
Wow.
air with channeling. And they
That's
were one of the
amazing.
first channels to actually feature spirituality and wellness and angels and all that. So I got to know all kinds of people, wonderful
Uh-huh.
people,
I
astronauts, and
love it.
it just,
Yeah.
it was like if you've gone to the Gaia programs on TV, Gaia TV
Yeah, I've interviewed a couple people.
from there.
Dr. Nima has a couple programs on Gaia TV.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know Dr. Nima, but there's a lot of great people. And a
Uh-huh.
lot of people that I interviewed ended up on Gaia TV, astronauts and people. They sent me all these books like UFO. That's not my specialty, of course.
It's
But
interesting.
yeah,
Yes.
I don't discount it. I think now is the time for disclosure, but I have to stick to one topic. I'm very diverse, as you are too. And
Uh-huh.
if you don't stick to a few topics, then you don't really, get the audience that you're really
Well,
looking
I'm spiritual, so it's kind of like you have to pull me off the ceiling because
at.
I'll get so expanded in spirit
Yeah, oh,
that
I do know that. Yes, I
that I
know
need to
that.
ground daily because of that.
I am going to ground, and we have a beautiful lilac bush that I'm looking at. It's just about to bloom, but not quite.
Oh, when I grew
So,
up, I had lilac bushes in the back in my yard.
this is in kind of, we have a side yard that used to be a front yard because our house is 150 some years old, era of the Lincolns. So
Wow.
I channel Lincoln to my husband. Worked for Lincoln at the historic sites for years and years. So my mediumship actually began when Lincoln came to me in a dream and told me to move to Illinois and that there would be
Okay.
work in Illinois. Well, my husband had previously worked for the Park Service, and we thought we were going to go work for the Park Service. But it turns out my prophecy led us to the right place. And
Yeah.
Dennis, my husband, did Lincoln history for 25 years plus extra years at Park Service. So I had 1 year with the Park Service too, but government, it was not my calling. I
Right.
had to be free spirit. So I taught art for years and years. But I mean, yeah, you do get expanded, and you definitely need to do that grounding. And I'm going to be outside probably surveying my gardens and deciding where to put what, and
That would be good
just
for you.
enjoying a little bit because I've been online doing this everything is so robotized with internet and upgrading my website, and
Right.
everything is, it was really hard the last 3 months. I had quite a few setbacks. First, all my websites disappeared. And then the chat GPT couldn't tell me why, and nobody knew what was going on. But then I began the new website, and then the whole computer crashed because I was going to see a client and I was tired. I took some coffee out and it spilled all over the keyboard,
Oh,
instantly wrecking my new computer. So
oh
then I had to
no.
order a brand new computer, and that took a week or two. And then I had trouble getting Word to work, and all my documents were not preserved. So then it took 3 weeks fiddling around with Microsoft, and then it's one setback after another. So
It's a lot. I know I combined mine. Mine is marybeth333.com, and I've
I will
got
go and visit that website.
yeah, I've got
You know,
everything on there because I used to have several also, and it's a lot of work to keep
it's a lot of work
updating.
to keep it up. But I wasn't getting that much business even locally from my websites. And I had a local listing for Divine Connections with Reiki, which I do teach Reiki classes, and angelic Reiki is coming up too.
That's beautiful. So, do you feel like there is a shift in the earth and in the world and in people's vibration is
Yes.
rising?
Yeah, I do, in spite of the fact that we're at war again, which I don't think that was really intended or Divine Creator's intention. But I wrote a book called Ascension Teachings with Archangel Michael, and he used to give me prophecies each year at the end of December for the next year. And so I went through them and I decided to make a book out of it because every prophecy came true.
Wow.
So then it's called Ascension Teachings with Archangel Michael. And then he was detailing how we would eventually go to the new earth, and it would be a perfected, more lighter form of body and earth. And the people that weren't coming along for the ride of the lifetime, so to speak, that they would go to another more 3D Earth. So
Okay.
I don't know if it's the end times or just a lot of, he's predicted a lot of Earth changes through me, and this year is no exception, but it's going to be very rough continuing. And he told me that a lot of times the weather will, increase in the velocity, and the storms will be getting worse and worse, especially in areas of war, because it creates a situation where a lot of population is lost, but the survivors need to come together instead of. So it kind of makes sense that Mother Earth is clearing her sphere of negative energy. But boy, if we got a lot of it on this Earth, and military buildup and all that won't be a thing that we have to worry about in the new Earth. But I thought by now we would have entered the new Earth, honestly. But he never gave dates. He says he won't give any more dates after the 2012. We entered the divine energies of the awakening. But it maybe takes all this negative energy that's rising now to awaken us to the fact that things are not as they seem. And so we need to work on ourselves and our heart and our
Right. And
awareness.
opening and allowing. And I always say to transmute any negative thoughts, fears into Mother Earth
That's a good
and
idea.
release it and allow the new energy to come in with an open heart, open mind, and an open soul.
Well put. Beautiful. You
Thank
are
you.
rather eloquent, so you are channeling uh, Gabriel as you
Oh, and
speak.
just as a side note, we talked briefly. It's my birthday today, and I love
Happy
Gabriel, and I
birthday. Yeah.
channel Archangel Gabriel for my writing. And you gave me a special message that Gabriel is around me.
Yes, he was clapping in the ethers. He's saying we are all clapping in the ethers. All of the angels are, but particularly she is my channel, and
Ah,
I'm very happy. Um, and he needs you around to stay healthy, and he'll be looking after you as well for healing. Because aren't you a healer too with
I'm a
Reiki?
Reiki master, and I do
Yeah.
healing also. Yes.
So,
Thank
what
you.
kind of Reiki uh, do you do? I mean, besides, I know you teach and things like that, but do you
Uh,
use other crystals or anything?
well, ironically, I was working with a shaman 15 years ago, and I had a previous life in Jerusalem.
Oh,
Yes, and I saw a stone building with squares cut out for windows, and
wow.
crystals were hanging, and the sun was shining through the crystals onto the patient on the table, and I was doing hands-on healing. Yeah. Wow.
This
Yes.
is my Mother Mary crystal, and it's a perfect square. And when I do readings for people, sometimes there will be appearances of people, and I also use crystals for healing. So you were using the crystal with the sunlight in order to
Yes.
heal. Well, do you
In
know
order,
that's an ancient Atlantean tradition too?
and I
So
have a
you,
connection to Lemuria and Atlantis in
I
past
know you
life
do.
also.
Yeah, I knew that because you're an old soul, you're a healer like me. So you were in Atlantis and Lemuria as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, I'm getting goosebumps. So, do you feel connected to Jeshua or Mary Magdalene? Do you think you might have had a past life with them or worked as a group with
I
them?
I do feel that, and I almost feel like I have a connection with you.
Yeah, oh my God, I'm getting a huge download of light, and Mother Mary comes in. I just feel her vibration, and she's spreading her arms around you and I, saying that this was no coincidence and to look into your past life from that era, or
Okay.
some era that you were connected to Jerusalem, because either you were part of our group or you were part of a group that continued the heritage of Magdalene or Mother Mary, one of the two. See, I
Thank you,
think
because
I,
it was
yeah,
a series of synchronicities that led me to you.
wow, and the Esther of all people, because Esther said when I visited her in England, she had been following my show for about 10 years, and she goes, Marcia, you're my hero. I said, well, I can't be a hero, and I can't be into letting people, look at me that way. I'm only one little spokesperson person. And she goes, no, no, Marcia, you really are, and blah, blah, blah. And she was going on. And
Uh,
I helped her try to get the music out more, and she has helped me for years. But this is, just so amazing because I just love her to death. And we're like, she is my best friend in the UK. She is just a wonderful person, Esther Klein. And I don't know what I know she's on Facebook and she does live.
Luminera.
Luminera?
Yeah, and she has a beautiful program for teenagers and self-confidence and
Yeah,
getting them to feel loved. And I would
yeah.
like to facilitate her program coming to the US too, to work with teenagers.
Oh, yeah, that she would be great. I told her if she was going to come to the US because she mentioned that you were having a retreat in Sedona at that time. I might be interested too, but I said if you're coming, you could fly into Chicago and we could go together or something.
And I told her I'll do it again, and then
Yeah.
I'll give her, you guys a heads up way in advance for planning because I think it would be beautiful
It
and we
would
could
be too
all,
far right now for me because
right.
my husband's having some health issues right now. He
But we
has
could
to.
all teach and collaborate. It would be beautiful.
And what is the name of your retreat?
The sacred ground speaks, and it's
Oh,
connecting to the
wonderful.
vortex energy. And I'm actually full for April, but I'll definitely do it again because Sedona for me was life-changing.
Well, then I got to get out there. It's another bucket list. I had been
Yes.
wanting Scotland for so long, and I watch all these videos on Scotland and Ireland. But when I went to Ireland, I had many mystical experiences, and I met a lady, not in Ireland, but from Ireland, that was a client of mine. And come to
Okay.
find out that Mary Magdalene had incarnated again in Ireland, and she was very close to the fairies.
Well, my mom's side is from Kilkenny, Ireland, and
Okay,
the family name was Coakley
Coakley.
in
Well,
Kilkenny, Ireland.
I know a Kilkenny from high school because, way back when, eons ago now.
So I,
But
I had a dear friend tell me that if I went to Ireland, I would see the fairies. They would be around me.
well, I had a fairy experience with the fairies and a priest who believed in the fairies. And I was going out to paint on the Wild Atlantic Way. We were staying up in Donegal, which is the far north, except it's part of the Irish Republic, not the Northern Ireland.
Uh-huh.
And I was walking along the Atlantic. It was only a few feet from me, and the wind was so fierce. Although we were in a kind of alcove or something, the ocean wasn't direct. Um, the wind pretty near blew me over, and all my art supplies went flying.
Oh
And
boy.
then I picked them up, and there was a kindly priest who helped me pick them up, and then he lent me. I had to call my husband and ask him if he could, or text him, I guess, and ask him if he could bring the cane for me because I was having such trouble holding myself up with the wind. And then he lent me the stick, the walking stick, and it was a
Okay.
fairy infused walking stick. And I could feel the fae coming right through it. And I said, Father, I hope you don't mind the question, but do you believe in fairies? And he goes, Oh, yes, I do. Well, he told me all these long stories about how one thing that was just fascinating is we were in this fairy forest. I could feel them, but not see them. And I didn't pick up anything on film, but he did show us an old tree. It was a yew tree, and it had belonged to the fairies. And he talked about when the tree was uprooted and fell over during a lightning storm, that all the animals of the forest came out and bowed to the tree.
Wow.
And then he told me another story, very interesting. I do channel fairies, but I don't deliberately channel them because they're their own kingdom, and you have to respect where they are rather than go to them for guidance like you would go to an archangel for guidance. It's not the same because they'll trick you.
Right.
So they were tricking me with the fairy stick, and I didn't do any pubs. I don't drink anything like that. But at one time, we went out together as a group. It was a Way of Mastery retreat, and it was Ireland. It was like heaven on earth. The whole thing was wonderful. But I got the fairy stick, and I kept using it for balance and the wind. And then I asked him if I could keep it for a while during the time I'm here. Sure. So we went out to the stone circle, and there I channeled Mother Mary as Divine Mother. And then
Wow.
it was the full moon and the equinox. It was so powerful.
Oh my
Then we,
gosh.
that was just
Wow.
fabulous. It's on my YouTube channel if you want to see it at Marsha
Yeah.
McMahon. But anyway, the fairy stick gave me some messages, and then it kept getting lost. So basically, we went to the pub to celebrate after the stone circle experience, and then we rode back in another car, so the fairy stick went off in another car, and it was also lost at the stone circle. So it kept getting lost.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it wanted to be in Ireland apparently, and it belonged to the realm of their fairies, and I maybe shouldn't have touched it in the first place because they do have their own realms and they set their own boundaries, but I didn't get the feeling that I shouldn't do it. But then the final trick was played when we went on to board the United flight home, and the customs in Ireland took it away. So the fairies took it away.
Oh.
But then the odd thing about this father, Richard, is he's been on all the fairy podcasts lately. And I said to my husband, isn't that the same guy we met in Ireland? He goes, yes, that is him. So it was like coming full circle.
I
But
would love to interview him.
oh, Father Richard, he's worthy of interviewing. He's very open-minded, and he doesn't make a distinction about Roman Catholicism versus other religions, even
Uh-huh.
other paths, even pagan. He says you're either on the path of love or you're not. That's all the way he
Because love is
describes it.
all there is.
That's right. It's love or not. So basically, a pagan lady called, and you must talk to her too. I can't think of her first name, but Joe is her first name. She does the Modern Fairy Sightings podcast, and
Okay.
Father Richard will be on there. And that's
All
how I
right.
rediscovered him. But she's a great interviewer, and she does folklore, and she does sightings of fairies and what people experienced with them. You
I
know,
love it. It's just so mystical and magical.
are you Irish as well?
My mom's side is right from Kilkenny, Ireland. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you said. So you're
And I
half
know I don't
Irish.
look Irish. My sister is
You
light
do look Irish.
blonde and blue
Okay.
eyes. I'm
Okay.
dark.
Well,
Yeah.
a lot of the Irish were dark too,
Oh,
because
really?
they had Spanish invaders at some point or other, and then they
Okay.
had. There's legends in Scotland and Ireland that the Gaelic people actually came from Israel and they migrated over in
Oh,
very, very ancient pre-Celtic times that they came on ships. So that's not unusual to have very dark complected people from Ireland as well as England.
interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm obsessed with Celtic culture and I paint fairies and I painted the stone circle, that kind of thing.
Oh, you have
But
be just not to interrupt, but I went to your website. You have such beautiful artwork.
oh, thank you. That's my main focus with the artwork right now. I do have some messages up, but I'm still learning how to add things to the blog. And I work with a very good website designer, Ario Arad, if you need any help. He's great with things, and he does good job on editing your videos if you should need help too.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I'm, into all kinds of creative things, and I'm a lifelong learner, even though I'm getting up there. I'm always learning something new and discovering some spirituality that's new, I'm open-minded. I do a lot of readings for Hindu people too because I'm connected to Master Yogananda and I've channeled him. So, I mean, I'm
Beautiful.
I'm really excited to be back on air, and I want to invite you onto my program too because you're so grounded, yet you bring through this celestial information that is so beautiful.
Oh,
So it
thank
was
you. I
an
would
honor
love
to.
to, I would be honored to be on. And for our listeners and viewers, what would you suggest for healing in a daily practice to expand their spirituality?
Well, what I recommend, and I teach angelic Reiki, and I have a course coming up May 2nd and 3rd, and I would recommend for them to do some silent meditation without getting on the internet first and jumping on Facebook and all of that. And just sit in the silence and ask, what do I need to do today to better serve love? Or do some breath work, whatever is, on the need list first. So you have to attend to your needs first, and then you have to sit in the silence at some point in the day. It can be in the evening if you're more settled. But I used to find that doing morning pages and asking a question from my higher self would give me, I would channel out the answer. And that's how I taught myself how to channel.
And
So
that's what
it's
I
very,
do.
yeah,
What message do you have for me today? And then I date it and I journal and then
good.
I watch it come true.
Isn't that amazing when you see validation for your messages or you
And
meet
every
other?
soul, yes, and every soul listening can do this.
That's right.
So
It's
if
not
you could
magic.
just, yeah, release the fears, the anxiety, pain in your body, anything that is troubling your soul and your body, imagine it leaving the bottom of your feet, going into Mother Earth, being transmuted, and then just visualize a white light entering your crown chakra through your whole body, filling you with unconditional love and acceptance. And you just will be open and allowing to spirit to bring you messages to heal your body and to connect you to source where all the wisdom you can tap into, the knowingness, the healing, and the divine wholeness of the earth and of yourself.
That is perfect. And I'm getting a message for myself, I am healed. And I'm getting the same message for you. You are healed. So once you're healed, you can be a healer. But it's a process. Some days we're not healed, you know.
Right,
We're on a continuous version of the next best version of ourselves. And if you
right.
connect to spirit daily, like you're describing, that's the way to enlighten because everyone has to connect to their higher self at some point or another and not fear it. A lot of people fear God, think God is separate from them, think they're a sinner, whatever the religious programming was, but that is not true. You're whole and perfect in the eyes of God no matter what you've done. Forgiveness is essential, self-forgiveness is essential, but then forgiveness is of others. And once you reach that point, then you kind of free yourself from the guilt, and then you kind of free yourself from the fear. But in
Right.
our daily life right now, we have much concern and worry about the stock market and about the war. And so it's good to set aside time, quiet time, to not think about that. Because if you
Right.
thought about it all the
Intentions and
time,
prayer and positive thoughts are so powerful. Do you have any final words for our listeners or viewers?
well, I just want to thank you for being such a good listener and good host. I didn't mean
Oh,
to
thank you.
ramble so much. I am a bit of a rambler and a good talker, but it was delightful to connect to you. And yes, we have more work to do. Now, to reach me, you can reach me at the email you see typed below there. It's Marcia, Marcia, 202 at Yahoo. And the new website is titled Princess Diana and Mary for worldpeace.com. And then you can also reach me, and I'd like to invite all listeners to join the Circle of the Rose on my private Facebook, where I bring forth monthly messages from Diana, Mother Mary, and Mary Magdalene, and archangels, and so on. So, we promote the rose healing for the earth, and we hold in the light all people right now with the hopes of world peace and the hopes of a new, glistening, shining new earth that brings hope to everyone. It's not about serving ourselves, it's about serving the human race for the betterment of all.
Beautifully, beautifully said. And it's been a total magical, mystical conversation with you. And I'll definitely have to have you on again because there's so many things we could talk about.
And I'm going to have you on and have you channel Archangel Gabriel and tell me more about yourself. And I
Okay.
apologize if I was a little too wordy, but that's just me.
No, I was fascinated with your stories, and you have had such a blessed life because I always ask everyone, are you walking your soul's path?
Yeah, well, yeah. And my own family doesn't really acknowledge a lot of the work I've done. And that's just too weird for them that I would spend all this time doing that. but you have to follow your own soul calling, or you're missing the cue, because we all exist to serve some greater purpose. And the people that are the most depressed are the ones that aren't in touch with the higher self and can't see through the dilemma of their present circumstances in order to see it even as a gift, so that they can use the divine guidance in order to further their own path and the path of humanity. We have to go forward. We can't go backward.
I couldn't agree more. I totally appreciate you, Marcia, for
I
being on the
appreciate
Healing
you too.
Soul, and I thank you.
Much love to you and so much gratitude. I'll have you on my show in about a month.
Sure, thank
Right.
you. And I always pick an intuitive heart oracle card, and
Oh,
today's is perfect. I wrote these in Sedona.
oh,
Listen,
beautiful.
yeah, listen for messages in meditation. After your daily meditation, journal what comes to you immediately. What is plunked in your third eye spontaneously? Ask, what is my message for today? Then date and journal your entry. Write down the message for today. Profound messages come in meditation to guide your life. Listen for messages in meditation. I want to thank every soul listening and watching. Share this episode with a friend or family member. I appreciate all of you, and allow hope and healing into your heart. You are whole and complete and unconditionally loved. The Healing Soul, empowering wellness in oneness. God loves you, and so do I. Thank you.